Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Christine Anderson, and I am a Los Angeles-based, neurologic-based chiropractor, and my specialty is pediatrics and pregnancy, and I also have extra training in childhood developmental disorders with a functional neurology emphasis. So I have been doing a series on PEMF or pulsed EMF, and today I'm going to talk about PEMF therapy and the 8 top benefits that you can enjoy from PEMF therapy. So let's get started. So here are the top 8. Number 1, pain relief. Number 2, stress reduction. Number 3, better sleep. Number 4, more energy. Number 5, enhanced immunity. Number 6, regeneration and repair. Number 7, better circulation. And number 8, stronger bones. So you can see all the benefits here. These are the top 8, but there are so many more. And this is the type of therapy that you can use on a regular basis. So with PEMFs or pulsed EMFs, the earth has a natural rhythm, but sometimes we can't all escape to the desert or mountains or the beach. And we can try and do what we can in our backyards with gardening and getting our feet on the earth. But to really, really combat and negate some of the electro smog that goes on, especially in cities, I find it really beneficial to use PEMF therapy. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about with electro smog, I will put the link in the description, and it's in the whole series that I'm doing on PEMF, so I will create a playlist for that too. So let's dive into number 1, pain relief. So with pain, which by the way isn't necessarily a bad thing to have, it's a sensation. We don't want to be in chronic pain, but in the short term, pain can actually help with preserving our life and our health. For instance, if you are leaning against a hot stove and you put your hand down on the stove, you're going to feel pain. You're going to move your hand out of the way, and you're going to preserve your hand. If you didn't feel pain, the first sign that you are putting your hand on a hot stove would be the smell of your burning flesh. So that is an extreme example, but there is a reason why we have pain, and because of that, our body has a built-in system to help deal with pain, and that is the endorphins. Those are our natural opiates. Now, believe it or not, we actually need the Earth's PEMF to help create these endorphins. And then we can use PEMF therapy to actually create additional endorphins or natural opiates, which are going to help with things that are going in our body that might be producing pain. So all of the cells in our body have endorphin receptors. So that means they all have these receptors for the opiates, which are a natural way of dealing with pain. And our brain can manufacture more receptors, but this is dependent on our lifestyle. So I'll also link the 7 facets to health video I did way back when in the beginning of 2020. And so this means you have to have good, healthy lifestyle habits in order to help with the production of endorphins. If you're not taking care of your health, it's going to be very hard for your brain to make more receptors. And the more receptors you have, the more you can respond to these natural opiates. So what PEMF therapy does is help to reduce pain perception and also increased tolerance. So you know those people who will be like, I have a high pain threshold. Well, that is probably because they are able to access their natural opiates, they're able to manufacture them, and they have enough receptors for the cells to be able to uh, know that these endorphins are there. Because if you don't have receptors and you have endorphins floating around, it won't be able to signal to cell that they're there. So, opiate medications are paradoxical because they actually inhibit our natural endorphin production and response. So it's very interesting, and I did experience this with natural childbirth. When you're going through natural childbirth, if you're not using any pain medications, your own natural endorphins kick in, and I mean, for me, I really got a high out of it. It's pretty crazy, especially right after that baby is born. And it's like, whoa, I am just super high, and which is also going to help with bonding with the baby because of the oxytocin that's presented too. So it's an amazing feeling. If you haven't done that yet, if you haven't had a chance to have natural childbirth, I highly recommend it. And this is something that I love helping women prepare for. All right, not to get too far off the subject, but let's move on to number 2, which is stress reduction and relaxation. So this is I don't know, sort of the modern plague, really, is stress. And stress won't go away. We all need stress actually to grow and thrive. But chronic stress, extreme stress, is completely the opposite. It breaks down our body. So that inflammation and damage can and usually does produce dis-ease in the body, problems with functioning, and then later on you may end up with additional symptoms that are diagnosed as a particular syndrome or disease or problem. And this is all modulated by our nervous system. So we've got the sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight, flight, or freeze, and the parasympathetic system. That's the rest and the digest. So how I usually describe this is that the sympathetic nervous system, when you're driving a car, it is the gas pedal. So it's the go, 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 drive that body to keep going, the brain to keep thinking. You've got a deadline, you've got to pick the kids up, you got to make dinner, you got this, you got that. You've got all this stuff going on. And then the parasympathetic is the brakes. It puts the brakes on the system. So in order for you to take in nutrition, digestion, you need to have your parasympathetic system working. And resting, which means you're healing and rejuvenating and renewing. So these are the 2 parts of the nervous system that are part of the autonomic nervous system, I should say. And these are the parts that we generally don't think about, but we can actually control with things like deep breathing and meditation and whatnot. You can engage the parasympathetic nervous system. There's a whole bunch of other things too, and I talk about some of them in my video on stress management, so I'll put a link to that. But we're right now talking about PEMF therapy, and you can use this therapy to help shift your body into parasympathetic mode. In other words, out of sympathetics into parasympathetics. And there are some PEMF therapy devices which include a biorhythm clock. So the frequency of the earth changes during the rhythm of the day, and also the rhythm of our bodies change. So in the morning, when we have a high cortisol level, we are supposed to be on, our brains are supposed to be working, we're supposed to be thinking, we're supposed to be in a little bit more of a sympathetic mode. But then as we hit later in the day, even by noon, we are supposed to be getting more into a rhythm of the day and less stressed. So a therapy device that includes this biorhythm clock can be extremely helpful to work with the rhythms of the day for your body. And there have been studies that actually show PEMF therapy can lower our cortisol levels. That's the stress hormones, and that's the thing that, again, we do need, and there's a certain rhythm to it as well, but we just don't want high cortisol levels every day, 24/7, all the time, and not having a chance to rest and rejuvenate. Which brings us to better sleep. So this is the time when you are resting, you're rejuvenating, you are repairing, you're healing, you're doing all those things while you're sleeping. So this is why sleep is really so important. And at the minimum, you should be getting 6 hours, preferably around 8. And PEMF therapy has been shown to promote deep sleep. So again, there are some therapies that have a biorhythm clock, and at the nighttime setting, you're going to have more of a frequency of theta and delta. And theta is our deep relaxation state of mind, and then the deep delta frequency is for deep sleep. So this is in the 0.5 to 7 hertz range that we're talking about, very low frequencies, but this is the normal rhythm of our bodies, of our brains, and even of the earth. Now, PEMF is going to help stimulate the production of melatonin. Now, you heard me say there's a cortisol rhythm. Well, there's also a melatonin rhythm. And it is really dependent on our exposure to light in the morning, believe it or not. If you can get out in the early morning and have the early morning light hit your eyes and come into the top of the crown of your head to help stimulate the pineal gland, which is what produces melatonin, then you actually start that production even though you are not going to be going to sleep for 12 to 15 hours. So this is super important. And if you can add some PEMF to your body, it's also going to help with this production of melatonin. And we know that melatonin is important for so many things besides calming your body down and being able to sleep. It's also necessary for our immunity. It's helpful for anti-aging because of that regenerative deep sleep. And the oncostatic means that it is going to help with keeping cancer cells at bay from multiplying. So many good benefits of melatonin, but natural melatonin, when you take a supplemental melatonin, hopefully it doesn't have to be every night, unless in the elderly possibly, because melatonin does decrease with age, or it typically decreases with age. But there are so many natural ways to boost it, and these are better than taking a supplement if at all possible. Now, PEMF therapy also helps with the production of human growth hormone. And again, this is something sometimes people will supplement, but if you get your own body to produce it, it's far, far better. And this is another hormone that's important for sleep, rejuvenation, and longevity. All right, more energy. Now, who doesn't want more energy? So the main currency of energy is ATP. And I talked about this in the video I did on natural PEMFs and how they benefit our body. talking about at the cellular level. So ATP is the currency of the mitochondria to make our energy, and PEMF signals in the 0 to 30 hertz range, so low frequency, increase the activity of the enzymes that are needed to make ATP and for ATP to be used by the cell. Now, in that same video, I also talk about TMP, transmembrane potential, and this is having to do with the cellular pump that is needed to actually to create this energy. So the PEMF enhances this process. And the PEMF therapy is going to help assist in the creation of ATP and TMP, so both of them in the body. And this is really the key to having more energy, optimal health, living longer. Of course, it's important to also do the things that help create energy. So that means getting enough sleep, that means eating properly, hydrating. This is one aspect of the therapy. You can't not take care of yourself and then just think the PEMF therapy is going to take care of everything. So you might want to check out what is the Earth's PEMF and how it can help keep us healthy, where I go into detail about ATP and TMP and the process at the cellular level. So that's the video to look for there. All right, we are on to enhanced immunity. So it's never been more in our faces about our immune systems. And of course, being a chiropractor and a neurologic based chiropractor, it's natural for me to know that my body is equipped with an immune system that is able to handle whatever is going around as long as I take care of my health. Again, if you're not taking care of your health, pardon me, then it's going to be really hard for your immune system to function. But given if you are doing all the things that you should be, again, getting sleep, eating right, drinking water, exercise, I know I sound like a broken record, and it's not, it's boring, but it is so true. Now, we know that there is enhanced immunity as a byproduct of the other effects at the cellular level of pulsed EMF. In other words, its effect on oxygen in the body, circulation, ATP production, all those things as a byproduct will help your immune system function better. PEMF therapy also increases the pH of the body. And pretty much, if you have an alkaline body, really nothing that is pathogenic or germs are going to be able to live in your body. They thrive in an acidic environment. And what creates that acidity? Oh, I don't know, junk food, sodas, too much meat, water that is not alkaline. They just have a good old time, a grand old party, because it creates what we call the terrain for disease to thrive. So if you do not give pathogens an environment to thrive in, guess what? They can't live. They can't thrive. When you are showing symptoms, typically we say, oh, I'm sick, I've got a cough or a cold or sneezing or runny nose. We say, oh, I'm sick. Well, this is the body trying to get rid of whatever is irritating you in the first place. And so when you are showing symptoms, or if you think you are coming down with something or you are sick, PEMF therapy will help to energize your immune cells and help with circulation to get those immune cells to where they need to be, and then into the lymphatic system to clear out the waste and the toxins so that those don't build up. There's also research that they've done that shows lymphocyte production will increase in response to weak pulsating magnetic fields, and that is what PEMF therapy is. So lymphocytes are those white blood cells responding to whatever is going on in your body. Regeneration and repair. So NASA did many studies with PEMF in regards to helping astronauts when they went out into space and they were not subjected to the Earth's natural PEMF because they were too far into space. Things started happening. And so they looked at PEMF therapy and found in their study that it helps to heal, repair, and regenerate tissue. Now, the body has the ability to self-regulate and repair and rejuvenate with whatever is at its disposal. So you have to give the building blocks. For the nervous system, it's sending signals down to say, hey, go ahead and do this. But if you are maybe lacking in energy because your frequency has gone down so low, or you're a million miles in space and you're way away from PEMFs, then PEMF therapy can help provide the energy and facilitate the transport of all those essential elements. So in other words, you're eating right, you're getting water, you're doing all the right things. Well, PEMF will just make sure that your body's able to utilize all those important elements, the vitamins, the minerals, the essential fats, those types of things. There was also another study done where pulsed magnetic fields promoted the growth of damaged nerves. Now, we've been told that nerves don't regenerate, they don't repair. But there's some research that shows that may not be true. The Body Electric is a great book that talks about this potential. We don't do it readily. We may need to have certain things available to us, and it looks like PEMF therapy may be one thing to help with that. It does help to promote the binding of nerve growth factor to the surface of nerve cells, facilitating regeneration. So I'm sure, hopefully, they will be doing more studies with this PEMF therapy and the fact that it can help with nerve growth and regeneration. Better circulation. Now, we need our blood to circulate in order to bring oxygen to every single cell in the body, along with nutrition, and then take away all the waste products. Without that, it really doesn't work so well. And this is why our heart pumps tirelessly, always on the job, pumping away, making sure that we get everything we need to thrive and not just survive. But the other point I have on here too is that the oxygen intake is dependent on the respiratory system and its function, so the lungs, the circulation of the lungs themselves, and also how well we breathe. A lot of people breathe from the chest very shallowly, and you're not taking in a lot of oxygen. So deep breathing will help with circulation of oxygen and removal of toxins. So does exercise. So this is another great thing that you can do to help with your circulation. Now, as far as PEMF therapy, it's going to help enhance both the cardiovascular and the respiratory systems. So the really cool thing is it improves circulation at the capillaries. And this is really important because if your capillaries are closed down, then you will not be able to get oxygen and nutrition into your cells. So like the branches of the tree, those little teeny tiny branches at the end are akin to the capillaries. And this is where the red blood cells have to kind of squeeze through the capillaries. It's a tight fit. And there, they are right next to the cells in the body. And that is where the oxygen transfer takes place and the waste is able to go into the blood. If you don't have that, if you have a lockdown of those capillaries, you will not get oxygen and you will not be able to feed your cells. It also helps to increase nitric oxide production. And I did videos on how to release nitric oxide, and I have talked about it. I believe I talked about it in the Healthy Heart video, so I'll put that in there. So if you're not aware of what nitric oxide does, it helps to dilate blood vessels so that you get increased blood flow. PEMF therapy by default improves oxygenation by some of the things that we just talked about. It also lowers blood viscosity and stickiness. So the picture on the left-hand side are single red blood cells on a dark field microscopy, and that's what it should look like. Those red blood cells charge on the surface of the cell is like, with magnets, how you've got two poles, a positive and negative. Well, you've got a negative charge on the outside, and that keeps the cells repelling away from each other so that they're all separate and you can see each one as it is. The picture on the right is the rouleau formation where the red blood cells are just sticking together, they're stacking together. They're not going to be able to fit through the capillaries in that formation. And this is when they lose their polarity. And I do talk about this a little bit in the video on the natural PEMFs. And because of what is going on in the cell membrane, they just sort of clump together, stick together, and they are not going to be functional in the life-giving oxygen and nutrition to our cells. All right, we're at the final one, stronger bones. So this is a huge one, especially for people as they get older. Women, especially after menopause, as they lose estrogen, which is very protective of our bones. But any age and any gender can have osteopenia, which is a decrease of the bone structure, and also then osteoporosis is where you get very, very porous bones because the calcium is just leaching right out of those bones. The bones are a storehouse for calcium. So PEMF therapy is actually FDA approved for healing and strengthening bones. They have said, you can put the stamp on there that this therapy is FDA recognized and approved for healing and strengthening bones, which is pretty cool. Now, I haven't gone into the types of frequencies for PEMF yet. I will do that next time. So just keep this in mind when you look at the term sawtooth. But what they found was low frequency sawtooth PEMF frequency showed to stimulate the osteoblast cells to produce bone. So we have different cells in our bone. Osteoblasts make bone. That's what they do. They blast out the bone. And low frequency PEMF with a sawtooth frequency was found to actually help produce bone. And this is due to something called the piezoelectric effect. And what this means is that there's a mechanical pressure or tension created with the electrical current, and that causes the bones to strengthen. So this is very similar to strength training. When you lift weights, you're putting a lot of stress and tension on the bone by the muscle pulling on the bone as you're lifting the weight. And that effect stimulates the bone to make bone, which is really cool. So I guess you could do your bicep curls on your PEMF and have a double effect. I don't know. Who knows? They haven't studied that yet. Maybe that'd be a good one to study. So PEMF therapy generates an electric current which induces a microcurrent, and that helps stimulate the bone production. So this is a therapy that can possibly help with osteoporosis and osteopenia prevention. Osteopenia meaning that you have very low bone density. Of course, along with weight-bearing exercise and diet. You cannot just do PEMF therapy and just sit around like a couch potato. All right, so we got through the 8 top benefits of PEMF therapy. I thank you so much for joining me. If this is your first time, you can certainly check out my other videos on this channel. I have a lot of different topics I talk about, and let me know what you want to hear about, whether you're new or been listening for a while. Now, I have put my website up there. That's the best way to get a hold of me if you have questions or if you have concerns about your health. And I'm always there to try and give whatever advice that I can. I can work remotely for some things, as well as work in my Los Angeles-based office. And yeah, if you found this helpful, please give a thumbs up, because this does help with the circulation of the videos so I can get this information out there to as many people as possible, which is what this is, why I'm doing this. Subscribe, hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I do a video. Generally, I'm on every Tuesday night about 6:30, unless I'm in Joshua Tree like I was last week, where I did not have any Wi-Fi. I was enjoying the natural PEMFs. It was really great to get all that really great earth energy so I can come back and be ready to help others. All right, have a great week, and I will see you next time.